Hey, my happy hoppin' family. Welcome to the Jump Rope Podcast, episode 32. I'm Dizzy, and today you're going to meet a woman who truly embodies what it means to keep pushing forward even when things get hard. Anna Øygarden Larsen, aka Anna_Jumps, is a physiotherapist from Norway, a beaded rope lover, and a proud member of the jump rope community. She also lives with CMT, a rare neuromuscular condition that affects her balance, agility, and strength. But instead of letting that stop her, Anna found joy in jumping and in connecting with others through the rhythm, the practice, and the play. We talk about meetups, Tricktionary Plus, coaching, and how she rewrote her relationship with physical movement after years of struggling with it. And we also talk about being inspired by others, but only comparing to yourself. Let's jump in. I'm going to do my best here. So, Anna Øygarden Larsen, thank you so much for joining me on the Jump Rope Podcast. I know I did not do your middle name justice, but...
Oh, it was quite good. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I'm
so glad to have you.
I heard you interviewing Lisa from Norway.
Lisa is from Norway.
Actually, while I was mowing the lawn the other day.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. Isn't she great? I love her.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
It's quite impressive what she's accomplished in a fairly short time, I think.
Yeah. So where are you in Norway, Anna?
I live on the west coast of Norway, close to Stavanger.
Okay. And have you been there your whole life?
No, I moved here about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Because I got a job in this area. So I'm from another city on the west coast, a little further north.
Okay. I know your profile says you're a physiotherapist. Is that your day job?
Yeah.
For those of us who aren't maybe as medically inclined, can you explain what a physiotherapist does?
Yeah, we work with the musculoskeletal system. So we work in hospitals and in homes for the elderly.
Like
and
long-term
also
care?
but also with children. Our patients, as a profession, our patients are aged from 1 day old to 100 plus. But my patients are grown-ups, 18 years and older.
Okay. And what sort of issues do they have that require them to see a physiotherapist?
In my job, it's mostly elderly people. So some of them have been to a hospital for something that has occurred.
An injury or something?
Yeah. Either it might be like a stroke or heart disease, lung disease, or they've fallen and fractured a hip. Sometimes they also need physiotherapy after a planned procedure, such as a hip replacement or a knee replacement or other fractures.
How does physiotherapy differ from physical therapy?
I wasn't aware there was a difference. I thought it was a matter of just different terms for the same thing. So that is...
Is it? Okay.
If it sounded like I was describing physical therapy, that's exactly what it is.
Got it. So your job is basically to help these people who've been through some issue, kind of get them mobile or get them as healthy.
Literally try to help them back on their feet.
Yeah,
and back
that's
to
really
the
cool.
activities that they've been doing before.
Yeah. So when did you get started with jump rope, Anna?
I started in the summer of 2021.
Okay.
So a little bit after the first, close to 4 years now. A little bit after the people who started in lockdown.
Yeah. COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. The COVID craze.
A little bit after that.
Yeah. And what got you started?
I think my story is pretty similar to most other recreational jumpers. I stumbled across a video on Instagram. This was back in June of 2021. It was some Norwegian jumpers who posted, I think it was every day in June, to raise awareness about cancer and about physical activity and the importance of that before, during, and after cancer treatment.
Oh.
And then after seeing one video, you know how the Instagram algorithm works. You stumble across another one. So I fell deep down into that rabbit hole on Instagram, and I never recovered.
What appealed to you about it?
At first, it was just pure amazement of what's possible to do with the jump rope. Because those first videos that I saw were like dancey footwork stuff. And together with the music, it was like I couldn't stop watching it.
Yeah, I
And
totally
then
get
I
that.
remember the first time I saw someone do a release, I was like,
Hmm.
what exactly am I looking at here? And I
Yeah,
had to rewatch it a few times because I
yeah,
thought I saw someone letting go of a handle and catching it again, which
yeah,
seemed just crazy.
yeah.
And then,
Magic.
yeah, magic, pure wizardry. And
Yeah,
then I saw a, a mic release in slow motion. I was like, yeah, just totally amazed. And
yeah,
I didn't think in my wildest fantasy that I would ever be able to do that. But I was at the same time, it looked like a lot of fun, and I figured I ought to give it a try.
hmm,
And at first, when I started, I was thinking maybe one day I'd be able to get a crisscross.
hmm.
That was like as far as I could stretch my imagination of what I would be capable of doing.
Yeah.
And so I did that and then some.
How long did it take you to get to the crisscross?
I don't think that took very long. And
Hmm.
actually, when I look back, I've deleted most of my videos from my phone because, as you know, maybe the problem we all struggle with is not enough storage space on our devices.
I,
But looking back on my very, very first Instagram post, that was actually unlocking the toad
yeah,
on my living room wooden floor.
nice.
And I remember I'd been struggling with it for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I could not comprehend the timing of it.
Mm.
And when I jumped at how to uncross my hands at the right time, it did not feel intuitive at all. And then
Yeah.
I got one and I was like, yeah, I'm just baffled that I was able to. But it took me years to get the toad consistently and to get it on the other side. And I still have to like really focus not to gallop out of it on my non-dominant side.
Mm.
That's a trick that it's followed me since I started, but now it's one of my favorites actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
never pictured myself a leg cross person, but toad has
Yeah.
become a favorite.
Yeah, I've joked before that, this is a toad-free zone, but it's not because I hate the toad. I mean, it's kind of an awkward move, or it
Yeah.
looks awkward to start, but I have messed around with it, but I've never really
Yeah.
practiced, and I've pulled it off like once, but it not really
But you
pretty.
know, there are those people who say that, no, I'm not a leg cross person.
I know.
Hypothetically, we could call one of them Kathy.
Yeah, right.
And
Exactly.
have you seen what's happened at her
Yeah,
account?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's wicked. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
she is.
when you got started, Anna, how did you learn? Were you just watching videos, or did you use an app or get a coach?
I just watched videos on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I came across Coach Chris's account pretty
Mm-hmm.
early on, and I followed Kathy Jumps since the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. And there was a woman called Jump Rope Kate back
Okay.
then, and a few other accounts. And I just looked at the videos, tried to do what they were doing, but I didn't have any guidance at first. So it
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of trial and error, and
Mm-hmm.
more error than anything at certain points.
Isn't it always? Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, one of the things that I discovered really early on was this amazing community. So once I was like lurking behind in the background for a few weeks, a month
Mm-hmm.
maybe, before I made an account because I felt really, really awkward about filming myself and sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
So that held me back for a little while, but then I realized that there's this amazing community out there, and to be part of that, you need to just let go of
Yeah.
that
Right. Open up a
self-awareness.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that stopped being awkward pretty soon. It wasn't many posts until I felt more at ease about it because if everyone else can, why can't I?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just such a great community. Like you never get, or I mean, I shouldn't say you, I should say I've never gotten really negative feedback. I get razzed by my friends or something, but even when I was starting out, and I know people are always encouraging, and
Yeah,
it's just so
it's
helpful.
an amazing positive environment. And
Yeah.
back in the beginning when I didn't really have any guidance other than looking at videos on Instagram. I remember people getting help from each other by posting something, trying something but not succeeding, and then tagging someone they knew could do it, and then get feedback and correction in that manner. And that worked well too, because I remember, for instance, I struggled with the forwards EB for a long time. The EB swing at first, and then trying to jump it was a different story. And then eventually, about half year in or so, I was trying to figure out the backwards EB swing, and my mind could not comprehend what was going on. And I looked up tutorials, several of them, still couldn't get it. And then I posted a video of me trying. It was all flailing arms and none of it made sense. And then I tagged someone who I'd seen do it, and she sent me a DM and was like, I could film myself doing this trick and explain it to you today. How would you like that? And I was like, of course. Just so helpful. And within minutes, I got my first backwards CB swing.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
From that video in my DMs, just showing me the ropes, literally.
That's terrific.
How to do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm going to put my dog in the other room real quick before she starts with her squeak toy.
Sounds like a good idea.
She waits until I'm in a meeting or something like that to go to the bottom of the stairs and then yell up at me like, Dad, come carry me up the stairs.
She can't walk up the stairs?
She could totally walk up the stairs. And in fact, she will run up the stairs if I go downstairs with a jump rope and start setting up the living room like I'm going to jump rope. She knows what that looks like. And she's like,
of course,
I'm out of here. I hate this. And she'll run upstairs and then get under the bed as if there's going to be fallout from a shelling in a war or something. She cracks me up. Yeah. No, she wants to be carried up the stairs unless I'm jumping rope. And
just because she wants to.
Yeah, and she can haul ass. So has your method of learning jump rope routines and stuff changed over time? Like you said, you started just watching Instagram Reels. Is that what you've kept up with?
I did that for a long time, and then I don't remember exactly when, but at one point I started to get coaching, which was a total game changer. As I know you've worked with a coach as well, and it's something completely different, both in terms of getting that instant feedback and the exact corrections that you need to make, just like put your left arm a little bit further to the side, or one of your wrists are slacking, so you need to correct that. It's just so helpful. Also, working with the coach has been eye-opening in terms of how I'm able to do more than I think I'm able to do. I've had coaching with the jump rope coach, Chris, for a period of time. And he's really, really a great coach. The way he spots what you need to correct as it's happening, it's just mind blowing.
Really?
And then sometimes he would throw a trick at me that I was like, no, that's way above my level. And he's like, no, give it a try. Because you can do this and you can do that. And you should be able to do this as well. And I would try, he would correct me, and eventually I'd get it. At one point, I remember doing an inverse toad on my parents' terrace while visiting them a summer a couple of years ago.
As we all do.
Yes.
An inverse toad while visiting your parents.
I really didn't think that I would be able to do an inverse toad, but then I did.
Yeah, it is amazing what you could do when you just show up and keep practicing. And when you have somebody from the community or a coach that can say, hey, tighten this up, and it'll come.
Yeah. And at first, when I was just learning by watching Instagram videos, I remember how much more helpful the videos that had points you need to be aware of this and that while trying this trick, how much more helpful they were, because now I can more easily spot what's not working. But way back then, it wasn't as easy. And it was really helpful when people pointed out common mistakes when doing this trick and what to pay attention to.
Yeah, totally. I love those videos.
But
I also love the slow motion as well.
Yeah. But now for the past I don't know, year or so, maybe, I've been using Tricktionary Plus,
Oh, yeah?
Coach Chris's app, and I really, really like that.
I've heard
And
amazing
also,
things. I haven't tried it yet.
yeah. Oh, you should. It's an amazing learning tool. And also recently it's become more of a social platform as well, because
I've heard
now
that.
the community members can interact and upload videos and remix each other's
Right.
videos, and the people who posted it originally will still get the credit even though someone else posted. So that's a cool
That's really
feature.
cool. That
And
is
there's
cool. I think
also,
when Ailey was on, she was talking about doing leg wraps and things like that and posting some of her videos to
yeah,
Tricktionary.
there's a lot of her videos on there. So there are
Yeah.
videos from a number of different coaches. I don't know if you saw Lisette's Mick Monday series.
No.
No. Oh, you should check those out if you're into
Yeah.
releases.
Yeah.
A few years ago, she did a Mick Monday, like a routine containing different Mick releases
Oh, wow.
every Monday. So I think if you go to her Instagram page, you'll find a highlight with the
Okay.
Mick Mondays. And they're also
Cool.
in the T Plus app.
Cool. Since I don't know Tricktionary well, are there, I know there's quite a library of stuff in there. Is there
Yeah.
also like a learning path? Like if you were starting from scratch, is there like, hey, start here if you're just learning jump rope? Or is it
No,
more a la carte?
yeah, you can say that it's kind of a la carte. There's a huge number of tricks and they're like separate tricks. So you could search by a trick name,
Hmm.
and you can also search for combos that has that trick you're looking for.
Okay.
And there's also this feature where you can just like surprise me with a combo or surprise me with a skill. So
Cool.
if you're going out to jump rope and you don't know exactly what to do and you kind of want to learn something new but don't know what, that's a cool feature. And
That is
there's
cool.
also if you jump to music, there are playlists sorted by beats per minute, by tempo. So you can, if
Crazy
you're doing a
cool.
combo and you know that okay, I can do it to this song or a song with approximately this tempo,
Right. Yeah.
you can get a playlist with songs with that tempo. Because if you're working on
That's super helpful.
it's really helpful. And if you're working on a combo for an hour to
Yeah.
that one song,
Yeah.
yeah, you can listen to different songs at the same tempo and work on that routine. And then,
That's
yeah,
slick. I like that.
it's a really, really cool feature.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also there's I don't know if Ailey talked about that, but the trick of the day, you've
Okay.
probably seen people posting
Yep.
trick of the day and that you're on a trick of the day streak. And
Okay.
that's a section where every day there are 3 different options for trick of the day. And if you unlock one of them, the app will count your streak if you do them
Fun.
for days in a row.
Cool. So it kind of gamifies it for you.
Yeah. And it also, if you're on a streak, on a trick of the day streak, it's growing and you maybe even reached a personal best on the streak. You really, really want to get one of the tricks for that day. So there has been times where I've been working on, if I see in the morning that there's impossible and almost impossible, if those are the options,
Yeah.
then I'll probably work on the one that I think I may be able to pull off a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, a little here and a little there during the day,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe work on it for an hour at night just to get it before midnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get it before the time's up. Because if you
Yeah.
don't get it, of course, you lose the streak and it starts counting from day one again.
Womp womp.
So I
Yeah.
can get a little bit obsessive about that. I'll
Yeah.
admit that.
Well, I understand obsessive. Yes, definitely
Yeah.
with jump rope.
So that's my streak within my streak right now.
That's
I think I actually
fantastic.
have 3 different streaks going simultaneously, jump rope related.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great. So, what does your jump rope practice look like? How often are you jumping and where and when? You're a mother, correct? You've got
Yeah.
children. You've got
Yes,
twins, right?
I have 2 8-year-old twin daughters.
Wow, that must keep you busy.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yes,
So when
but my jump rope sessions, they are not very structured. I do jump rope, or not necessarily jump, but I move with a rope every single day.
Okay.
Sometimes it's 2 minutes, sometimes it's 2 hours,
Hmm.
depending on how much time I have available.
Sure.
And sometimes I may work on a specific trick that I want to learn or that I want to make look smoother.
Hmm.
Other times I may have seen a combo that I want to work on.
Right.
And I also use Tricktionary Plus, the app that we talked about,
Hmm.
for inspiration. And yeah,
Hmm.
and a lot of time I just put on some music that I like and go with it.
Hmm. So are you a morning jumper or an evening jumper?
A little bit of both, because when I have the chance to jump in the morning, I do, but that's usually on the weekends. So on weekdays, it's nights, afternoons and nights, because
Hmm.
I work in the daytime 5 days a week.
Sure.
And the mornings in my family, it's just, they're too busy for
Yeah,
me to go
I
off and
can
jump rope
imagine. Right, right.
at the time, but that'll probably change eventually.
So how would you describe what you do with jump rope? Or if someone were to describe Anna's jump rope style, what would that sound like?
Oh, that's an interesting question. And I don't know quite how to answer it. 98% of the time, I jump with beaded ropes.
Yeah.
And my skills are more like arm skills than footwork.
Okay.
I think footwork is one of those things that looks super, super cool when others do it. And it's one of those things that caught my eye at the very beginning. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that looks so fun. I want to do that. But
Hmm.
at the same time, I'm not light on my feet.
Hmm.
And doing footwork combos, maybe at a high speed, and it's not something that comes easily to me. And I remember one of the first footwork skills that I saw was the running on shuffle, and I thought it looked super cool. And I
Yeah,
was
it
like,
does, doesn't it?
yeah, I should try that. And then that was back in the day when Instagram Reels could only be a maximum of 30 seconds.
Uh-huh.
That's the longest reels you could make at that time. And I remember there was a lot of those reels where people would show the moves, without the rope for maybe 12 or 16 counts or something, like short sequences.
Uh-huh.
Move, show them first without the rope, and then maybe with the rope,
Uh-huh.
and with the rope in slow mo.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, it looked almost doable. So I
Uh-huh.
tried without the rope, and it didn't take me that long before I could do a running man shuffle without the rope. Then I tried adding in the rope, and
Uh-huh.
it was a completely different story.
Yeah.
So I think I was 2 or 3 years into my jump rope journey before I could do a fairly decent running man shuffle.
Uh-huh.
I
Do you
was two left feet for way too long.
really? I'm curious,
Yeah.
do you listen to music when you're jumping?
Yeah.
Always?
Almost
Or
always,
mostly?
most of the time.
Do you find that helps at all with beat and
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I also like it depends on where I am when I'm jumping, but I also
Mhm.
like jumping, but having always jump with AirPods. But depending on my surroundings when I jump, if I'm alone, I like to not have it in what's it called? Like not,
Noise
yeah,
canceling.
not noise
Yeah.
canceling, because I want to hear the rope. But if
Right.
I'm jumping at the gym and there's a treadmill class going on behind me,
Yeah.
which makes a lot of noise,
Yeah.
I turn it on sound canceling, and that works best
Yeah.
in those situations. But if there's not a lot of sound and things happening around me, I like to hear the music and the rope.
Me too. I love it. I don't always hear the rope, but like these headphones have that same feature that my AirPods Pro have where you could put it on like transparent mode or I forget what
Yeah,
they call it, but it's where you can hear some of the environment as well. And I think that I don't know, there's something primal that the sound of beads slapping
it's
does
almost
for me.
therapeutic,
It really
that
is. I
clicking of the
feel
rope.
almost like hypnotized, or it just
Yeah,
kind of lowers my blood pressure and my heart rate just listening to it.
yeah,
I've put out several reels recently where I've been mixing the music down and the environment volume up so that I can hear the beads in the reel because I just love it.
yeah.
It's
Me too.
peaceful. It's like
It is.
ASMR.
And also, I think I've heard on your podcast that you've tried rope flow a little bit. Is
Mhm.
that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And also with the rope flow, that's a completely different sounding rope. And
It is.
that swooshing of a heavy rope has something, I don't know, I can't say the word.
Meditative.
Meditative. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
quality about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just made another rope flow rope. I went to REI, this outdoor store, and bought a length of rope and made another one. And it's stiffer rope than my original one. And I was out yesterday working with it, and I had my headphones on, and at some point I just kind of put them down around my ear because it's just such a great sound. It
Yeah.
sounded very martial artsy to me, like
Yeah.
swinging swords, kind of.
Yes, it has this really nice swooshy sound.
Yeah, yeah, it's super fun. And do you do rope flow as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends. I mean, how much varies, but I had as part of the Jump for Joy group.
Yeah, me too.
And one of my goals for Jump for Joy 100 was to pick back up a rope flow. So I set a goal of doing rope flow at least once a week.
Okay.
And I did it the first 60 days maybe. Now it's fallen out a little bit, but I'm gonna pick it back up because it
Talk about
brings something different.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you. Can you talk about what it does for you differently than normal jump rope? Or not normal jump rope, but
I
standard
think
jump
I
rope.
want to start with saying what got me started with rope flow. And I think it was a little bit similar to what I've heard from a few other jumpers. It started with an injury. So I wasn't able to jump or jump as much as I'd used to or as I wanted to. But I still wanted to move with a rope every single day. And actually, a jump rope friend of mine, a friend who I've met through jump rope and have traveled quite a lot with the jump rope related, she gifted me a flow rope. Sent it as a Christmas present when,
So
like,
nice.
half a year after I started jumping. Yeah. And then we took a rope flow class online with a coach called Hardcore Henson.
Okay.
She gave rope flow classes, and we were, I don't remember how many we were, but like 6 or 8 people or something. So there were like these miniatures of us on screen, and she taught us different patterns and how to transition between them, and it was, yeah, I really liked it. And it's like you can go slow, you can go fast, and you can work on, sometimes if you're learning a new jump rope pattern and you don't quite figure it out, it helps to get that extra feedback that you get from a heavy rope.
Yes. Amen.
And also taking the jumping out of the equation.
Right.
It's one less thing to coordinate.
Yeah, totally.
And for me, rope flow can be a great warm up. I've used it as a warm up, I've used it as a cool down. Sometimes that has been my rope workout because, I mean, if you flow with a heavy rope or a lighter rope but add more speed, you can absolutely get a full workout out of rope
Totally.
flow.
Yeah,
Just as much as you
absolutely.
can with, and who says you can't jump even if you're doing rope flow? I mean, look
I
at
do.
in Australia, for instance. I mean, her jump rope style and flow rope style, which to me, when I see her jumping rope, they're intertwined. You can totally tell from her style that she does rope flow too, and I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree. One of the things I was thinking about with rope flow while I was practicing yesterday was that because there's so much added weight with the rope,
Huh.
it tends to exaggerate the movement. So one of the things I've been working on with rope flow is keeping my elbows in like I would with jump rope and keeping my movements tight and still making the
Yeah.
movements, but not getting my arms way out and,
Yeah.
Muppet land. And I feel like that extra weight it feels good when you get your
Yeah.
flow and you can keep it in tight.
But
It's lots of
that's
fun.
the thing though with the rope flow, because you can't choose to like move really tight. Like imagine that you're standing in a narrow hallway, or
Yeah.
you can go all out and like
Yeah.
with big movements. And depending on your mood or the music that you listen to or what you want to get from it,
Yeah,
you
totally.
can
I
go
don't know.
big or you can go narrow.
You can go small. Yeah. I've tried a few times to go big. Several episodes ago, I had Rob's 360s on,
Yeah,
and he is just amazing. He's like a whirling dervish
his
tornado,
turns are otherworldly.
right? And so I got it in my head that, oh yeah, I've got so much feedback with this flow rope. I'll try and pull off a few of those turns. And I've been practicing, and I could turn and stuff, but the turn and jump swing, I can't tell you the number of times I've hit myself at 100 miles an hour with that heavy rope, right? Like wrapped it around me.
Yeah, and I feel that if I try to turn fast with the heavy flow rope, it's kind of like the rope takes hold of me. And I mean,
Right.
I guess you're supposed to like let the rope lead in a way, but if you give it that kind of momentum, at least for
Yeah.
me, I have poor balance. And if I
Yeah.
give it that kind of momentum, it comes to a point where the rope is more in control of me than the other way around.
Yeah. I hear you. Hey, one thing I wanted to ask you about on your profile, you said you're a physiotherapist living with CMT.
Yeah.
And I had to look that up. Can you explain that and how does that affect your daily life and your jumping rope?
Yeah. I'm glad you asked. The CMT, it's a group of rare neuromuscular conditions that affect the peripheral nerves. So the longest nerves are the ones that are most affected, meaning the nerves to the hands and the feet. And in CMT, the nerves conduct signals at a slower pace than they're supposed to. So that leads to poor balance, weaker muscles, poor agility. Those are probably the main symptoms. But at the same time, people with CMT are a very diverse population, so to speak.
Okay.
So how it affects your daily life varies greatly within
Sure.
that group. Some people work full-time jobs, live active lives. Some people need a wheelchair in order to get around, but may also be able to walk, but still need that wheelchair to save energy and to
Sure.
make the day work. And then
Right.
there's everything between.
Yeah.
And for me, of course, it affects my balance. It makes me, I can't jump high.
Can I
That's
ask
one
you,
of
is
the
this
things.
something you were born with or that you
Yeah,
kind of developed over time?
both. It's something that I'm born with, and it progresses slowly over time. So it's something that I'll die with and not from,
Okay.
to put it in those words. And for me, as a child and growing up, it was I struggled with it quite a lot
Really?
because it's one of those things that I mean, I had a really, really strained relationship with physical activity when
Sure.
I grew up, all my childhood and my adolescence, because in PE class, as in school, I just couldn't keep up. And we all had to do the same things in PE, whether we had the ability to actually do it or not.
Right.
And of course, that does not feel good as a kid.
No.
That leads to anxiety and withdrawal, and you just
Yeah.
want to like disappear.
Right. You feel like you're less than when you can't
Yeah,
keep up. Yeah.
exactly. And also in the playground, of course, when the other kids would run off to the next activity, I couldn't keep up, and that doesn't feel good when you're growing up. But as you grow older, you can choose your activities more. There's no PE class. You can
Right.
go
You
to the
don't have a
gym and
PE
work.
teacher.
No, now I am I was going to say now I am the PE teacher, but
I
that's not
know.
quite right. The physical
I mean,
therapist, which is something
basically.
completely different.
Yeah, I know.
But it's
But you get
different
to
though.
boss people around and get them to do physical activity, right?
Yeah, or encourage them, try to
That's
motivate
right.
them.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, it took me, I discovered the joy of physical activity as a grown up in my early 20s.
Okay.
I was actually halfway into my bachelor's degree as a physical therapist before I started working out, because that's when I discovered that I can be physically active without having to be compared to anyone, without
That's so
having to
cool.
be without having to be the one who's just seeing everybody else's backs way in the distance.
Right. Was your struggle with CMT, did that inform your decision to go into physical therapy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was a child who was in need of a physical therapist, and later on, a youth who needed the help of a physical therapist. The physiotherapist that helped me when I was growing up, she had a really, really good way of like explaining the mechanics of how the body works and how movement, what facilitates movement, what restrains it. And it got me curious. So that's actually a big part of the reason why I chose this profession.
That's so
And
cool.
also I figured that, I mean, in my class while I was in college, there was a lot of people who were like, who were excelling at their sports and always had. So in the beginning, I was like, kind of like wondering, how do I fit in here? Because it didn't seem like an obvious choice of profession. When I finished my studies and I started working as a physical therapist, I mean, pretty soon you realize that most of the patients aren't the ones who always won. Some of them are, but most of the patients are ordinary people who had something happen to them, which makes them in need of physiotherapy. And you don't need to be the number one in a sport to be able to do that. And I guess also having struggled with these things maybe enables me to have more understanding for that side of things.
Yeah, no kidding. You're an empathy machine when it comes to those kind of things. So I'm curious, is the symptom more a deadening of nerves, or do you have nerve pain?
Actually, for me, it affects my balance. And also, as I said, I can't jump high. And I have sometimes I get cramp in my hands and also
Sure.
in my legs. But talking to other people with CMT has made me realize that, I mean, of course, if I could have chosen, I would have chosen not to have CMT. But we don't get to make those decisions. And
Womp
having
womp.
CMT, I realized that I've been lucky because my symptoms could have been so much worse.
Right.
And I'm lucky that I've hardly any pain. And I know a lot of people with CMT struggle with pain.
Yeah.
And all the struggles that come with it.
Yeah.
Trouble sleeping and yeah, and also the amount of energy it takes to be in pain. So
It's just
I'm really
draining.
fortunate to not have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Does it affect you personally? I realize it's different for different people. Does it affect your grip strength?
Yeah, it does. I mean, the number of times I've stood in the kitchen wanting to open a jar of jam or whatever, and it's like, okay, I'm not having strawberry jam today because I can't open the damn lid.
Yeah. Well, now you have 8-year-olds. You put them up to it, right? Who can
Actually,
open it faster?
yeah, my husband sometimes joke about when I ask him to open some jar. He's like, I'm so glad that you still need me." And so at least there's that. And also, IKEA has some great tools to open stuck jars and milk
Yeah.
bottles and so forth.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
ingenious. So after you started jumping, did you notice a difference in your CMT's symptoms or your relationship with CMT?
That's a difficult question because I what I found in jump rope that I had never experienced anything like it is how fun physical activity could be.
Right.
Because I did have a workout routine before I discovered jump rope. But I always, after I started working out, I mean, from halfway into my bachelor's degree, I started working out, but it was on and off. Aerobics for a while, then spinning for a while, then nothing for a while. And it went on like that for quite a few years. And then after my daughters were born, that's when I started exercising on a regular basis and not falling out of it. But still, back then, it used to be a period of time doing this, a period of time doing that. But I never found something that I really, truly enjoyed over time. It was more, it was okay, and it felt good when it was done.
Right.
But with jump rope, it's been, when can I jump?
Yeah. It's the
Yeah, you
best,
just
right?
look for that little space of time where you can just disappear into it. And
Yeah.
that's been, I mean, it probably sounds like big words, but to me, jump rope has been life changing, really. And also the way that jump rope is, I mean, of course, you can compare yourself to others, but I don't think that ever leads to anything good.
Yeah. That's
But it's a,
manufacturing misery.
yeah, I don't know where I read it, but you probably read the same thing too. But I read somewhere that comparison is the thief of joy. And I think that is just spot on. But with jump rope, when I'm in my zone, everything outside of it doesn't exist. And I can compare myself, I can compare to what I was able to do a month ago or half a year ago or a year ago. But I try to avoid comparing myself to others because it's not, whenever you compare yourself to someone else, you don't know what you're comparing to.
Right.
You don't know the whole picture of what you're comparing yourself to. So it's going to be comparing apples and pears.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I kind of my rule now is be inspired by others compared to yourself, compared to yourself yesterday. Like
that, you put it so well right there. And
yeah.
also I mean, as I said earlier on, when I started jumping, I was like, I set myself what felt as a big goal back then to maybe get across and like maybe even get out of it and keep jumping. And
That's the tricky part.
yeah. So, but then I've exceeded my own expectations of what I'm capable of so many times. I haven't stopped saying that something is impossible because some things literally are impossible for me to get jump rope wise. But even though there's still, and it feels like there's an unlimited amount of things that you can learn. And if you learn a new trick and you feel pretty confident about it, try doing it backwards.
Right.
Or faster, or on the other side.
With a heavier rope or something.
With a heavier rope, or
Or a lighter
transitioning.
rope.
Yeah, or transition from a different skill into it and a different skill out of it than what you would usually do.
Yeah.
The possibilities are endless. And
right. Take it from 90 beats a minute to 120 and have fun. Right.
Yeah. And it's like, I've never liked running. I've tried to like running.
I know, me too.
More than once.
Yeah.
But with a rope in hand, I can run. And it's even fun. I can run in the spot with a rope and enjoy it, but running on a treadmill or outside, it's not for me.
I know what you mean.
I mean, kudos to those who do it and enjoy it, because I mean, it's just as accessible as jump rope. You can do it anywhere, and
right.
Doesn't cost much, but
well, it's pretty amazing. It's funny. I was thinking, I like guilting myself into getting a gym membership and then going in there and getting on the treadmill or getting on the elliptical and going for 30 minutes or whatever amount of time. Like, to me, the most fun part of it was I would take my iPad and put cartoons on Netflix or something like that. But I was always happy when it's over. And never once did I drive around town and say, oh my gosh, that would be such a cool place to do elliptical in. But I do it all the time with jump rope, right?
That is 100% relatable.
Yeah.
And it's not that many days ago since someone asked me, like, when you tell people that you jump rope, I'm sure you've been in this conversation 100 times. Yeah. Because the second you say it, that what they're picturing is not what you're doing.
Right. You're doing double Dutch on the playground or something.
Yeah, well, actually, double Dutch is really, really fun. We can get into that later.
Yeah, no, I would love to do it. But I'm just thinking the mental picture that most people have is not an adult out there rocking and rolling.
They picture what they've seen in playgrounds.
Yeah.
And it's not that many days ago since someone asked me, so when you jump, like, do you watch something on TV while you jump? And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing. It's like, when I jump, when trying to coordinate 2 arms, 2 feet, a rope, and some music, there's no room for anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an in-motion crossword puzzle that just never stops, right?
Exactly. And that's part of what I love about it, because when you're combining all those things at the same time, there's just no room for thinking about what should I make for dinner tomorrow, or overanalyzing or worrying about what someone might have meant when they said this or that. There's no room for that while you're jumping rope, because it takes all you've got.
Yeah, Sarah Marshall, also in Jump for Joy 100, Stronger with Sarah. She said it so well on an episode where, like, once I get my rope spinning, I'm inside my force field and nothing can touch me. And it's the same thing for me. And it's the focus.
Except the rope that touches you really hard sometimes.
Yeah, I consider that more like a slap or a backhand. But touching is a little bit mild for what my rope does to me. But,
I agree.
But the focus that comes with just having the music on and working the hands and the feet and stuff is second to none for me. Like I can't think of anything else that has given me that kind of joy.
It's the same for me. And for me, it's like I was 38 when I discovered jump rope.
Okay.
And I don't see myself ever stopping unless I have to. I mean,
Right.
of course, I don't know how long my feet will allow me to jump,
Sure.
but I'll jump for as long as I can.
Yeah. And if you ever get a day where you can't jump, you'll flow.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't see myself giving up jump rope anytime soon.
Yeah. Do you have do you feel like you're more spontaneous with the stuff that you're learning, or do you kind of have a plan? Do you plan out like, hey, the next thing I'm going to learn is the triple
I'm
backflip,
more on
double
the
under toe?
spontaneous side.
Yeah, me too.
And I spend probably a little more time than I should on social media. And that's also where a lot of times I see someone doing something that looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm able to, I'll pull up a rope as soon as I can and then try to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually it's what happens in the spur of the moment with jump rope for me. I rarely have planned sessions. I have had a few of those, like at Jumpversaries, you want to do a cool combo and share.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that a few times, but most of the time it's just going out and usually I start freestyling and then I trip up on something and maybe I'll drill that for a little while. Mm-hmm. Or I see some story on Instagram and want to try whatever they're trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned community and how much that's meant to you. You just recently went to a meetup, right?
Yes, I did.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. In April, we had a meetup in Bergen, Norway, which was our second international meetup. The first one was in September last year in Stavanger, which is close to where I live. So I was pulling some strings then to find a venue and things like that. And also got to show the international guests around in my town and in this area. So that was a lot of fun. And then now in April, there was the meetup in Bergen, which is actually close to where I grew up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we were...
How many people go to the meetup?
That varies a lot. I mean, the meetup we had in Stavanger in September was the first international meetup in Norway. The community in Norway is fairly small. Mm-hmm. It seems like more people are discovering jump rope, but I guess there's going to be more people jumping than the ones that you see on Instagram. Sure. And then there's a group of people who like jump for exercise, which is awesome. Yeah. But who aren't as nerdy into it as some of us are.
Yeah.
So the meetup a half a year ago was like a couple of handfuls of people, like 8 or 9 people or something. Mm-hmm. But Coach Chris came over from the UK.
That's so cool.
Lisette came from UK. And there was some Norwegian jumpers, both living locally here and also flying in from other parts of the country. And we had some Danish jumper there. My friend Lulu.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was really, really nice. And there's a group of us, a couple of other Norwegian jumpers and myself and Lulu from Denmark, who have traveled together since our first meetup in Copenhagen in 2022.
Wow. That's going to be fun.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. And
I still haven't been to a meetup yet, and I'm just dying to go. I can't wait.
You have to.
Yeah.
It's something completely different. I mean, that first meetup in Copenhagen back in the summer of 2022, I'd been jumping for a year and I had gotten in contact with quite a lot of people on Instagram, some Norwegian jumpers who I'd never met because, as I mentioned, the community in Norway is small and we live very far apart from each other.
Sure.
Norway is a geographically big country with a small population. So when we traveled to Copenhagen to meet there, it was like when we met, we felt like we knew each other.
Yeah.
Like when we met each other, it was, of course, we're going to give each other a hug because we're friends. We know each other.
Yeah.
Although we hadn't met in person before, but you get that connection over a shared interest that no one else really knows about or cares about.
Yeah.
And then it's special.
It's a deep connection. I mean,
It
like,
is.
yeah.
And then I remember going to Copenhagen and meeting all those people. Actually, a very fun part of that experience also for me was I shared an Airbnb with 3 other jumpers.
Oh,
One
yeah?
from, yeah, that I hadn't met before. And they hadn't, I don't think they'd met before either, but the 3 of them were all based in Germany,
Okay.
but they were from the US, Ireland, and India, but based in
Wow.
Germany. And I met them at this apartment in Copenhagen
Nice.
for a jump rope weekend. So the ropes came out the first night we were there, like the night before the meetup. All ropes were out, and we were like doing. I remember. Do you know Owen? On
I don't know if I do.
oh, you should check out his account on
Okay.
Instagram. Amazing with raps and also all kinds of crazy releases. And
Okay.
I remember him trying to teach me a rap, and there was a group combo with some raps in it, and it was all Greek to me.
Mm-hmm.
So we were there in the kitchen at the apartment trying to. Well, I got tangled up and tangled out again, and didn't quite figure it out. But it was like that whole atmosphere of people meeting from different countries with our first common language being jump rope.
Yeah, it's such a
We all
cool
spoke
language.
English,
Yeah.
but we had the jump rope interest in common, and that was just a great start to a jump rope weekend. It's almost difficult to explain.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. When M. Foley was on, she mentioned, or Doc Jumps, she mentioned that one of the great things about the meetup is that we have that common language. Like, you don't have to explain to somebody why jump rope is special. Like, we all know
They
that.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all bounce for happiness and for mental health and for fun. And
Yeah, and it's so cool because, as you mentioned, everyone has their different style. So when you go to a meetup, if you're curious about raps, you ask the person who's into that. Or if you want to try rope flow, someone's bound to have a flow rope with them and show you some moves. So it's all inspire and be inspired.
at these 2 meetups that you did in Norway, was there structure at all to the meetup?
Yeah,
How was it
and that's
structured?
when both these meetups were hosted by the jump rope coach Chris. And at those meetups, there's usually a few competitions, like usually one of those last jumper jumping kind of things.
Yeah.
So, for instance, it might be jump backwards. Whoever jumps for the longest period of time wins.
Okay.
Or double unders, or mic releases, or consecutive crosses, or whatever. And at least my impression is that he if he knows the crowd that's there, he'll choose competition that most people can join in on.
Right. Yeah. He's not going to make all the newbies do backflip releases or things like that,
no
right?
backflips in those competitions.
Yeah.
But they're fun. And then we usually do a group combo that's been posted a little in advance of the meetup, so people have the chance to practice it. And that's always fun to do a group combo and to be able to share it.
I always
After.
love seeing the videos of those. Just a group of people all smiling and jumping. It just
They're
looks like
super fun.
Yeah.
And obviously, those always take a while to film because someone always messes up.
Yeah. That's
Once
part
or
of the game.
twice, or yeah, that's part of the game. Put a mic release in there, and you'll be sure that someone drops it.
Right.
Or we simultaneously drop it. That's another option.
Yeah.
But it's fun to do those things together as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also at meetups, I love being able to do partner skills like 2-in-1 rope or double dutch or Chinese wheel, because since I don't have anyone to jump with on a regular basis where I live, I don't get to practice those things.
Yeah.
But at meetups, there's always someone who wants to practice that. And that's actually one of those things that was a highlight of the Bergen meetup for me, that I got to practice Chinese wheel and even learn some tricks.
Nice.
In wheel, because I've only done that a couple of times before, and I've barely been able to get the rhythm of
Sure.
turning the hands, one hand up and one hand down simultaneously.
Yeah.
And then being able to actually do a turn and a cross in Chinese wheel was super cool.
Neat.
But I had the best coach doing
Yeah.
that. Lisette skipping taught me some Chinese wheel moves, and we
That's
had a lot
awesome.
of fun with that.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I think it's so cool that jump rope coach Chris organizes so many meetups.
Yeah.
I know he's
It
even
is.
done some here in the US as well.
I went to his meetup in New York 2 years ago.
Yeah?
That was really an
Wow.
adventure.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. But
Well,
imagine the look on people's faces when I said I was going to New York, and they asked me, what do you do there?
right.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going there to jump rope.
Like, people go there for Broadway or Wall Street.
Well, we
or
did that too.
Yeah,
We did that too.
that's cool.
So note to self, the next time, don't go to a Broadway show the day after you land, because the jet lag will have you sleeping.
Through the show?
Not entirely, but I fell asleep more than once, and I was not alone.
Yeah.
But there's a pretty big time difference. And
Yeah.
when you try to go to a show at night the day after you land,
Yeah, I could
should have
imagine.
anticipated that, but I didn't.
Yeah, I can
So,
imagine.
if there'll be a next time, I'll put the Broadway show a few days into the visit. But
Yeah.
it was awesome though. I mean, getting to see New York, getting to meet Kathy, who I'd connected with on Instagram right from the beginning when I started in 2021, and also meeting Kathy, getting to
She's
know
amazing.
her, and yeah, she really is, and also getting to travel there and experience all of that together with my Scandinavian jump rope friends was an adventure of a lifetime. Really.
Yeah. Yeah, I just keep thinking about like what would it be like to see these people that live in my phone and who I think of as my best friends, basically, like to see them in person. There's no reason I wouldn't hug them. Like that.
No,
I
but
am
I'm
closer
sure.
to so many of these people than some of my own family, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that when you meet them, it'll feel like you know them, because you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
In many ways, you do.
Yeah. Well, Anna, this has been so lovely. I really appreciate you coming on to talk to me. This has been so fun, and it's so fun to watch you skip. And I want to thank you for your support and being such an inspiring member of the community.
Thank you. That's nice to hear. I had a really good time talking to you.
Likewise. Hey, friends. Thanks for hanging out on the Jump Rope Podcast. We genuinely appreciate your spending your precious jumping recovery time with us. If you had a skiptastic time, or even if you had a pretty decent time, please smash that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, why not toss us a 5-star rating while you're at it? It really helps new jumpers discover the show. Got friends? Of course you do. Spread the jump rope love. Tell your friends, your family, your neighbor, that rando at the grocery store checkout, anyone who needs more jump rope joy in their life. So until next time, keep jumping, keep laughing, and remember, life's too short not to skip with a smile. Catch you in the next jump.